Okay, so I'm going into our player state manager and we're going to continue on with this. This is going to be our queuing system. So we actually need to build a template. So I'm just going to put it on this object for now. And all we really need in this thing is from our start state, we need to array list count, or if you have length, that'll work as well. And we're looking at our queue. So this is our count. Right, so we get that count, and then we're going to int compare. So we want to compare count. You can compare it to 0, that's fine. If we're greater, then we have a queue, or we don't have a queue. So no queue and has queue. So no queue is, we're just going to wait next frame event, and we're just going to feed back into it, just back and forth every frame until we get a queue. Now when we get a queue, this is where we're going to want to start building let's grab our fighter class, or our fighter model. Right, so there is our fighter model. Should alter the shadows, but not a big deal. I'm not that worried about it. So this model, I mean, it needs, obviously we don't have anything on it yet, but we are going to need some FSMs. Primarily at this point in time, one called, we're going to call it actions. And inside that one, it needs an event called, we're going to use an event global called action. Just like that. All right, now in here, if we have queue, we can array list get. We're going to get the index of 0, and we want to send event to whatever unit's going to be. They're all going to have the same FSM to it, whether they're AI or players, to perform the action. And then, oh, we have to use this. So this is on the queue. Make sure to put that in there. And then once we've done that, array list remove. Also from the queue, type game object, we're going to take our current out of there. And then the other thing we want, there's a few different ways to do this, but I find to do FSM state test. So on the current, in our FSM of actions, we're going to have a state. We're going to call it done. We need to mark this one every frame, and if true, then we can go get a new whatever, the next person in line, or whatever the case may be. So essentially, when we get building the players, when their timer is up, I guess you could say, they add themselves to this list, this queuing system. So they can't attack, they can't do anything. And the queuing system processes everything in order on when they've entered the queue. And it processes them, and then it says, okay, we're waiting until this unit is done processing what it wants to do, not what it's actually doing, just what it wants to do. And then it's going to get the next person. And I say that because in a lot of the Final Fantasy games, if you were to do an attack, there would be like a timer, and it might be 1 second. So you attack them with your sword, and you attack them pretty freaking quick. Where if you cast some big super summon whatever massive spell, it doesn't happen instantly, it takes time. So what this system's going to do is you select your thing of what you're going to do, and then down the road we're going to be dealing with the actual actions. And when the actions come up, they get executed in order as well. So we need a state called done. But this thing, other than that, we can save him as a template. So this will be our Final Fantasy battle queue. And no. So in this person, before we forget, we're going to want to state somewhere. I'm just going to put it down at the bottom, and it's going to have that name done. So whenever this state is entered, so it doesn't need any actions, it's looking at literally right at the name, then we know that this character has selected what they wanted to do. Now into this guy, so we've come down here, now we can run FSM. We wish to run our battle queue, just like that. Now, guess what else we need to do? Well, we also happen to have a doing actions queue. So I'm just gonna reuse this one, which is why I saved this one. So it's almost the same thing, but we're going to use a different list. We're going to use the doing actions, right? Now obviously we don't want to send and with this we can also keep as well. We just got to keep in mind like that done state on the players, we're going to use that a fair bit. So this is like we don't want to reuse this, so we need a new event. So and it might almost make more sense to maybe change the name and say, call this one select action, maybe. That might make a little more sense. So we don't get confused. So we have action and select action. So let's quickly just zip into where did I? This guy, and let's just edit that. So we're going to send the select action, because that'll just make more sense, I think, so that you guys might understand a little better. Oh my god, I should just hit S. If you're ever going through a big list like this, you can just press and hold the letter you're looking for. All right, so then that will be good. We can go with that. And then in the next one, which we're gonna put it there, in this one, then we'll use the action. And we're gonna save this one as and then now I'll delete it for now. So here, now we have, so when the battle starts, it's going to build all our players for us. It populates all our lists, and then we're going to be running through these lists. And this is just for the queue system itself. All right, there is another one, but we might do it in a different. It has to do with the battle results, which will actually end up going. Actually, we shouldn't use a finished here. Let's use battle complete and put it here. Now, there's nothing calling this right now, but. And we're going to come over here where we go, once the battle's complete, we can load our level and do that same kind of thing, which is why here I moved this guy to his own state instead of combining these two states, because this guy can get the events and now load it. And now once they're loaded, there's no need to get these because they're already technically loaded. We just call this the action again. So that's pretty much how we get in and out of battle. But like I said, there's a third one that we're going to be building here. Okay, so I think we should, you know what, I'm going to unprefab this so we can change the name and everything. Anyways, I'm going to put another FSM on here, and this one's going to be status. And we also need a probably just use an array list. This one can also, we'll call it status as well. So in status, we're going to make an event. It's going to be called cycle. You could also, if we want to go a little more in depth with this, we could make it a 3-stage thing, but we'll go with this for now. So cycle. So what is cycle? What the hell does that even mean? What am I talking about? Array list get next. And we're going to go through our status. So we need a loop and a done. And the type is going to be a game object. Its name will be current. It's kind of my go-to names. All right, so done really isn't going to do anything. So on the loop, all we're going to do is send an event to the current. We'll make a FSM called status, and we'll send. We'll make an event called tick, make it global, and we're going to send that. That's all we're going to do with that. So that's going to run our status system. So ideally, when we go to make a status, they'll actually be an object, right? Like for example, you could do poison. And we have an FSM called status. So this will happen on every every kind of status thing. So we have an event called cycle. No, we have an event called tick. Sorry. So when we tick, we can do something. Pretty simple. And we could make prefabs out of that too. But, you know, there's numerous ways to do this. So when we tick, for example, now, if we had, in the ways of poison, we also need an FSM on this called health. So we can deal with health. If it's poison, every tick, you would assume it would be dealing poison damage, right? So we could set an event up, but we could also say have a countdown timer. We'll say length, right? Maybe poison lasts 4 turns. So what do? We send an event. Not that we have anything set up. Shit. To the health, and it has nothing there, but I am sure I've got an event called damage, so we can use that. Not that it actually exists yet, so we'd also need a variable. We could pull it off of whoever sent the event, but I think it's just easier to get parent and store that as parent. But like I said, you could also get it off of here. Like you can get event sent by, which will end up being the same thing. So now we can send it to the parent, right? And then we can int add or int subtract. To the length, we're going to add -1. If you're subtracting, you would just subtract 1. And then we could int compare. Move to the bottom. And if length is 0, or if it's less than 0, we're also going to destroy it, and we'll just continue if it's greater. So continue and destroy. Destroy and continue. So if it's destroyed, now if you're running it in the pooling system, I mean, we technically should, but for now I'm just going to say destroy self. Right, and then the continue really doesn't do anything, but that would be it, other than playing particle effects, right? Like let's see if I have a poison. I do. So I'm literally just gonna put that, or as a child. I'm gonna move it up though. That's probably fine. I'll put it 1.25, right? So if I go to the poison, for being poison, I could probably just play it on awake and have it looping and call it good and never have to really actually call it. But lots of them you might want to turn play on awake off and then hit in here, say, you know, play this particle every time you tick. With the poison, I mean, if it keeps playing like that the whole time, that's, you know, that's technically fine. So, I mean, here we could do, see, I've already got status. I got a guard buff. So we're going to take poison. I'm going to buff or place that in there. So I think that's probably all we should cover. This FSM is going to get big and crazy. There's a lot to do in this FSM, but it is also a lot of the logic for the game is actually going to be happening through this FSM. All right.